As we continue to cover the Jeffrey Epstein cover-up, I am shocked to see so many conservative podcasters flipping on MAGA, flipping on Trump, at least the administration. Here's Michael Knowles. Now, he goes to bat for Trump any chance he gets. I mean, any chance. And the problem that we're seeing is that they're not really calling out Trump. They're calling out the administration, Pam Bondi. Somebody's going to fall on the sword before they call out Trump. But he gets it right here, and a broken clock can be right twice a day.
When the Attorney General says these are videos of essentially child pornography, and we're not going to release it, who were they with? Who were the non-children in the videos? That's what we want to know. And the government just has to come up with a better response to this. I did half my show yesterday on all the reasons why you're never going to get the Jeffrey Epstein files, why you never, or the full story, a story that contradicts the official narrative. You're never going to get it. You were never going to get it. I predicted you were never going to get it. I think it is naive for anyone to think that they were going to get it. And I went on to the reasons why governments are not totally transparent, why they cannot be totally transparent, how every state spies. I think I have been as fair and even-minded about this as it is possible to be. But the people are going to demand more of an answer. And one cannot simply obfuscate and say, well, we're not going to release videos of child sexual abuse material. No one's asking you to. We want to know who's in it. The very fact that you're saying it's child pornography leads to the next question, which is, well, who were the adults?
Now, Pam Bondi is going to argue that no, it was pre-recorded. It wasn't, whatever. But he's got it right. Michael Knowles has a point here, which is that people will not settle for this answer. Here he is on TMZ discussing it. And why am I sharing people, right-leaning and conservative podcasters and their thoughts? Because this is the final straw. This is the final group of people that have been defending Trump and, I guess the idea that, they're going to drain the swamp. If they can't drain the Epstein swamp, then there's no swamp to drain.
There's no evidence of that. If that were true, the Democrats would have released it last administration. That's not it. The reason is, and I think the reason why Trump is so angry about this is, we were never going to get the Epstein files. There was a list, then there wasn't a list, then there were clients, there aren't any clients. Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison for trafficking girls to nobody, I guess. It's all kind of silly. It's preposterous. But we were never going to get the files because either the official story is true and Epstein was just a rich sex freak and all those rich and famous people had nothing to do with him, or he was tied up with intelligence, as Alex Acosta reportedly said, or he was interwoven with all of these heads of state and billionaires and all the rest. And if that's the case, we were never going to get the file. I suspect.
Now, look. He's not wrong. It's one or the other. It's either there was nothing to see there, or the more likely scenario is that it implicates a ton of people, and he was working for organizations. People, say the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence organization. Either way, I mean, this isn't. I know this sounds like it's out of a Bond movie or some Jason, Bourne Identity movie, but if you're another country, you try to get dirt on people and do crazy things like this, and it's terrible. And at the same time, it is unacceptable to not get more of an answer, even if this actually did happen. Here we have a very interesting story, as we've got Trump being called out about the fact that he's giving weapons to Ukraine just like days after pausing. And it just goes to show the lack of communication and vision that's happening. I, for one, have said, I think that we should be helping Ukraine as much as possible without actively being in a part of a war. I mean, they were invaded, for Christ's sake. They were invaded. A sovereign nation, the whole world, the whole Western world should be helping them defend themselves. But either way, Trump ran on the whole, we're going to end the war on day one. And he made a mockery of Zelensky in the Oval Office. And now he's essentially, doing exactly what Biden did, which is helping them out.
Moment yesterday during President Trump's cabinet meeting.
Mr. President, you want to send more weapons to Ukraine, as you said last night. Last week, the Pentagon paused some shipments of weapons to Ukraine. Did you approve of that pause?
We want to put defensive weapons because Putin is not treating human beings right. He's killing too many people. So we're sending...
which we knew several years ago when he invaded Ukraine.
Some defensive weapons to Ukraine, and I've approved that.
So who ordered the pause last week?
I don't know. Why don't you tell me?
And we find out it's Pete Hegseth, and people are wondering, how the hell are you letting Pete Hegseth, who months ago was just a Sunday morning Fox News host, and he is a high, of a very high position now, but how are you letting him make these decisions with one of the biggest, active war situations happening?
We now know who ordered the pause in weapon shipments to Ukraine. It was Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who was sitting right next to President Trump in the meeting, but he didn't speak up when that question was asked. Now, according to 5 sources familiar with the matter, Hegseth didn't tell the White House that he ordered the pause, and it set off a mad scramble inside the Trump administration to understand why it happened. Now, Trump told Hegseth last week to restart the shipments of defensive weapons to Ukraine. But why was this pause ordered?
Yeah, I would be looking at Hegseth's financials. Is there bribery happening? Why the heck is he ordering this pause and our commander-in-chief doesn't know about it? Which, again, it goes back to, what's happening with ICE over here. How much does Trump even know what's going on? And this is a question that, people rightfully asked about Biden, and I think they need to be asking it about Trump. Does he even know what's happening with his tariffs, with ICE, with supporting foreign wars? Not a good place to be, to not have your finger on the pulse of these gigantic geopolitical events happening.
According to a source, the Pentagon's decision to suspend the shipments came after Trump asked Hegseth last month during the NATO summit to provide him with an assessment of U.S. weapon stockpiles. But Trump did not specifically direct Hegseth to halt the weapon shipments. That's according to 3 sources familiar with that decision. That recommendation reportedly came from a member of Hegseth's staff, who has long been skeptical of sending large quantities of U.S. military aid to Ukraine. Now, we asked the White House and Pentagon to explain why Hegseth ordered this pause without telling the White House, and they both issued statements that didn't address that question directly.
Well, here is a question. We are not getting enough good reporting happening from the White House, but here we have great reporting going on, and he's going to call us a nasty question.
Yeah, please.
Sir, yesterday you said that you were not sure who ordered the munitions halted to Ukraine. Have you since been able to figure that out?
Well, I haven't thought about it because we're looking at Ukraine right now and munitions, but I have not gone into it.
What does it say that such a big decision could be made inside your government without you knowing?
Damn.
I would know. If a decision was made, I will know. I'll be the first to know. In fact, most likely I'd give the order, but I haven't.
So again, he goes, I'll be the first to know. 5 sources told CNN before Trump knew. Boy, tough question. I don't suspect, by the way, we're going to see this reporter anytime soon at the White House. I think his days are done there. And look, bring in the next guy. But hey, give it up for Gen Z. Give it up for Gen Z for finally asking the question. You got all these other reporters. They're afraid to lose their position in the press corps or whatever, and they're not asking these tough questions. And then we got old Gen Z over here getting his one question in before they quickly and swiftly deport him from the Oval Office. All right, finally today I wanted to cover an update on Alberto Garcia. He was the El Salvadorian who was deported, without any due process to the El Salvadorian prison system. And then we find out through court papers, they're alleging that he was abused. He was beat. He was, dare I say, tortured. And now he's back in Tennessee, actually, fighting bogus charges, like migrant trafficking charges, because he was carpooling with people. And they're being told that as soon as he's released, they're going to deport him anyway.
The government has expressed that as soon as Mr. Alberto Garcia is released from criminal custody, which we are confident will happen next week, their intention is to redeport him to a third country. Which one? I don't know. It's now been 2 hearings at which they've reiterated that and stated that, and yet they've declined or said that they don't know which country. So for about the 5th or 6th time in this case, the government is trying the trick of sending its lawyers into court with inadequate information, with insufficient information.
I mean, it's ridiculous, right? The guy's never been convicted of anything. He's, always checked in and done everything by the books. He's married to an American. He's got a child here. He's been working. I mean, they always said, if you just do it the right way, you got to just do it the right way. Well, what is he getting? By the way, did he like some of Melania's photos on Instagram and Trump's got this bone to pick with him? Or is it just the fact that they said they'll never have anyone come back from, that prison and they intend to hold killed, if the U.S. government, if the federal government, the executive branch here, had used this much energy to lower grocery prices, if they had this much energy to help the middle class, the working class, and not use it all on ICE raids, terrorizing people just trying to get by, I think the country would be a better place. Here we have an update on the conditions of Alligator Alcatra. I hate that we're calling it that. I love alliteration. I hate that it's being used in this sense as a detention center, some call a concentration camp.
He said that they bring water in a Home Depot bucket.
Those are the conditions inmates are telling us about in Alligator Alcatraz. It is a first of its kind state-run migrant detention facility. Keep in mind the entire purpose of this facility was to reduce the already overcrowded ICE facilities. An attorney for one inmate told us this new site has infrastructure problems.
Then there was a water issue, so they were not able to take a shower for 5 days. He told me that they went to take a shower 2 days ago, everybody had to get naked, and when they got there, there's no water running.
This attorney and other inmates our affiliates talk with say they're struggling to get medical care. The lights are always on. There's inadequate food, and they're dealing with mosquitoes. 5 pumps of mosquito repellent. On Sunday, when they got in, that's it.
No more sense.
No more sense.
Jesus Christ. I mean, this is terrible. It's terrible. And these are people that haven't committed any, we don't know if they've committed crimes, right? They haven't even been to their, had their judge, meet with the judge and all of that in immigration court. Now, again, the judges, they're trying to deputize, military folk into becoming judges so that they can speed up this process. It's kind of like saying, no, we'll follow the Constitution. We'll just bend the rules around the Constitution so we can just check it off and just move on with our day. I mean, it's atrocious, right? I thought we stood up for the Constitution. That's what we do on our channel, right? First Amendment, Second Amendment, I don't care, 14th, 25th. We have all these amendments. We have the Constitution. I thought we were supposed to stand up for it. And I guess when it's your side that's doing it, you look the other way. And that's what we're seeing a lot of is, folks being complicit and not standing up for the injustices that are happening there. We won't do that. We'll be loud and proud and we'll share our voice. I appreciate everyone who's stuck around for that. If you like what we do, you can hit the subscribe button. I've got the Rush Hour every morning and every afternoon, twice a day. All of your pop culture and political news and entertainment news in bite-sized format. So we're done now. We'll be back this afternoon. See you then. I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.